What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today we're going to go ahead and do the first preview for Madeleine, Star Devouring Blue Madeleine. I think they changed the order of those, but she is quite interesting. Our newest Transcendence hero here with the skin from the Christmas event. Of course, we can take a look at her without. It's quite the difference. We saw the story in the event. And yeah, today I just want to give you guys a little bit of a preview. I don't feel confident enough to say, well, we're really doing a review of her because, well, there are still so many teams that I want to test, so many things that I want to test, so many uncertainties that are still there that we kind of need to tackle before we really get into an in-depth review. But I would say, let's start off with a little bit of a fight. A good way to start the video, I was told, is to defeat Mr. Tiamo, just so to put him back into his place. Always a very great idea. And of course we have a team right here with, yeah, not too much power. I don't think we have too much soul power on here. I think soul power is still on my LFA, which we're going to check out in a second as well. We're going to go ahead and do a little bit of the new broken spaces. Will be very, very interesting. Level 115 here as well. This team, just something I've thrown together. I would say the IEA in here and the IHP are kind of optional. They don't really follow any purpose yet. I thought a little bit of Norton Hague, maybe Sylvie could be interesting, but there was too much of a setup to go for yet. Mainly, I just want to show you guys the mechanics. So right at the start of the battle, and this is quite the madness, she drains 60% of her HP. Sometimes it looks a little bit more like 70% if I'm honest. I don't know if there's maybe a small bug there. You guys can decide that for yourself. And it makes her look a little bit like Wukong at the start. Look at that, how much HP she drains. That's a madness. It has some interesting synergies that she does that. It's not like it really risks her dying, because at the same time she gets a huge shield. It's essentially the same as Wukong in that regard. And I would say Wukong was never really a hero where we thought, well, that is a particularly squishy one. So that is very interesting. I wanted to show you this fight, not to destroy Tiamo actually, because I thought it was kind of funny, because for some reason I consistently get highest damage from her against Tiamo, and usually she by no means does the highest damage. She is not really a very, very good damage dealer actually, despite us having quite good stats on that. We actually do have, I think, 470 mil. Yeah, 470 mil here. We pulled the copy from an A- core. Was it the A- core that we got it from? Yeah. Bound copy, so will just be on this account, but 7,000 attack. Very, very good one. Actually quite high roll A-. And the roll, I have to say, right now, looking at the Transcendence version, we rolled it at the time when there was only the normal version. I would say control precision, yeah, is good. Holy armor, I would keep that. Divine block, obviously we don't want because it doesn't work. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with the roll, honestly. I didn't really go for a reroll yet. Her main thing really is healing and shields. And losing connection with the game server. Great. But also, to an extent, we do have CC. There is some CC, and it makes for a very interesting combination. One thing you notice during fights with her, or in which she is participating, is you pretty much get a ton of shields. It's really like that. It's really like that. We can go back into combat situation maybe. Maybe show it here against Cyberstorm. He has a TBB, which I hate that she isn't twine immune. It makes it tough to fight some specific teams, I have to say it. The thing is, we have the big HP drop right here. And then starting off, if we get the ult and if we don't get drained by the TBB, then we will see that all of our heroes will get quite massive shields. The back row has quite massive shields from the start, because that is one of her abilities. And then, of course, with Wukong, with the combination that we have there, yeah, we kind of get like just a ton of overall effective HP. Really, the big thing about adding in terms of survivability is like the start of the turn ability and the ton of stuff she really does for the back row. The back row is really well protected by her, and that makes her kind of a very interesting asset for high volatile situations in which you kind of want to protect a few heroes. So protecting your damage dealers, for example, that is a good job for her. And on top of that, you get also some quite significant buffs, to the extent also that many people already see her as a contender for Star Expedition, which is really, really interesting, we have to say that. And I intentionally played this fight so slow here, so that you could get more of an idea of what she's really doing, which is sometimes hard to grasp. We see those little tentacles here from the heroes, that is really her buff. And her buff, and that is mostly playing into this direction of Star Expedition, her buff makes it, it's called Frantic Gluttony. It has multiple layers, so it has multiple stages, and she just grants it with her ult. So essentially you can see deals 3000% of attack damage to 3 enemies with the lowest HP, which is in theory cool, it's just not a lot of damage. Reduces their control immunity by 15%, that is rather valuable actually. Makes it way easier for your heroes to apply CC. So pretty nice effect right there. Also of course something that you could very well multiply with the DGN. Then we restore self-max HP right with the ult, so if you run her with an energy artifact she will drain her HP, then restore a ton of her own HP. And it's pretty good that this is like percent of max HP. That was kind of a problem with older healers, where they had like those restores 1000% of attack in terms of HP, and then the heals were getting weaker and weaker. This just feels very, very strong. Feels very, very strong. Also, keep in mind, on top of that, you can still scale that probably. Was a bit hard to test because you always have like multiple heals that overlap. But of course, stuff like effect of being healed is still a thing, and that should apply to that. And then we have this buff. Afterwards grants Frantic Gluttony to allies whose shield values are equal or higher than 30% of their max HP for 2 rounds, and removes 1 random debuff from them. Meantime, with the deep sublimation also control effect, so that is very, very cool. And when they release their basic attacks or active skills, restores the HP by 10% of lost HP, increases self energy by 3. Worthless. So those two really worthless. But it is about the skill effect and how you can enhance them, and that is like really the interesting part. Because this buff can be enhanced, it is also on top the effect of increasing the owner's attack by 15% and the speed by 20, which is rather nice. It's a skill effect also, so it can't be purified or removed by any means, and won't be subject to any marks or something in Star Expedition that could eat your buff. This will not be the case for this because it's a skill effect. And then this buff can be increased. And there are 2 cases in which it is increased, and both of which are fairly easy to achieve. The target's shield value is equal or higher than 40% of their max HP. Easy. And then it's the same for 50% of max HP, which is super easy to achieve. We saw how quickly we were getting shields right there, so absolutely no problem. And what do you get for that? Well, for the first one, you get the damage reduction offset, which is like the new stat we saw for enemies that have damage reduction. It's a very, very valuable stat and will increase your damage by a lot. And we get 10% all damage stat, which is nice. And then we get one stat that is particularly valuable. And we increase the all damage reduction offset by 25%. And that is actually kinda insane, especially for situations where we see bosses with all damage reduction and can't really use Wraec. Wraec, of course, in the new Broken Space is still absolutely insane because he will just remove all of the defenses, which is great and far less complicated than this, obviously. But he also only does that, and we can't use him in every single situation. Just imagine, let's say, Void Boss comes around, has like 50% all damage reduction or something, and you have her, you are able to provide the shield and everything, and you are able to hit that. That is absolutely insane and will help you a ton, do a ton of damage, especially sustained throughout the round. So that is definitely very, very helpful. And on top of that, I kind of didn't mention it, but when you deal damage to the 3 enemies with the lowest HP, you also reduce their all damage reduction by 10%, having like an attribute debuff of that is potentially also multipliable with DGN. So very, 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 very strong ult actually, especially if you can't use Wraec, if you don't want to put the on your team, and if you're searching for a hero that will not only allow you to bypass enemy defenses, but also provide you with some meaningful buffs in terms of attack and all damage dealt. So there we really see the buff value. And top of adding a ton of survivability, we really have this trinity of like a decent bit of CC, which we are going to come to now, survivability, and really the buffs overall. This is really the combination that we have. And I would like to show you that actually in Flame Shrine. We can't really do that right now. I have tried to use her, that's the wrong event, in the Dawn plan. And maybe we can see how this looks like in a boss fight right now. I have used her in the Dawn plan with just this team right now. It includes Wraec. I haven't tried to remove that yet. Maybe we do that live. Mainly, I just want to show you guys how that looks. Of course, we're going to go for triple speed. You can see really, really big heals there. And how quickly, look at that, the tentacles there, all activated. We get all of the buffs. And we will see that this will spread out to the other allies as well. The more ults we do, the more we really get those tentacles. And there we are already at the point where all of the heroes have tentacles. It really works that fast because you can see the bars over here with the shield. That is absolutely insane. And the thing is, if you are still using MFF anywhere, I think this is definitely the point where you remove her. And I also, at that point, she has also been removed from a lot of places, from a lot of situations, especially in Star Expedition. I have the LFA on the wrong boss, I just noticed. Wait, we have to kind of fix that. And then again, maybe let's just go with it. Doesn't really matter too much. We are, of course, going to do a whole lot less damage, but the idea was really, especially to show the start of the fight and to show a little bit of the buffs. You can see there are a ton of buffs actually on her. We have damage reduction there, we have attack there, we have speed there, multiple layers of that. And all of that, of course, coming from that. We also, of course, have, and that is rather interesting, we have the Destiny transition. We have a Destiny transition 16 here. And that allows us to actually provide even more shields to our allies, to provide even more sustain to our allies, on top of, well, even more buffs. It really just plays into what she's already doing, and we can take a look at that. Maybe we skip the end of the fight here. I think it was enough of a demonstration here. Should be horrible. Yeah, it is. It is absolutely horrible, but maybe, and that is a more interesting part, yeah, we really do not have more heal overall than SQH, I guess. But the shield is, of course, really the thing that is important and is really protecting us. So maybe we just try if we can really remove the Wraec here. I just did it and put Vespera in there. Maybe that could be interesting. Interesting also is her core. Which does provide some very, very insane buffs. Whenever self-releases an active skill, for everyone ally whose shield is not lower than 30% of max HP, which probably will be all, restores all allies' HP by 400% of attack. For everyone ally whose shield is not lower than 40% of max HP, increase all allies' control immunity by 3.5% for 2 rounds. And then for everyone ally who's not lower than 50% of max HP, increases all allies' all damage dealt. And this is like the 3+3 here. So it is actually a very nice buff for that. For every one ally you also have to see. So potentially, well, we have 5 allies there. Oftentimes the hero itself counts as well. I haven't really seen that yet. I think we saw that it was 10 buffs. That would indicate that probably only really the allies count here. Which would mean we would get this like 5 times. If she's faster than LFA, you can have the buff active twice. So that's not bad. I mean, this situation right now, with a 3.5%, that multiplied by 5 would bring us to 17.5%. Plus then, if she's faster than LFA and attacking first, that could bring us to 35% all damage dealt just from the core. Which, I mean, in Star Expedition, you're probably running like PDE core just to avoid the CC. But in a situation where you really don't have to do that, 35% all damage dealt on top of that, the same amount of control immunity on top of some heal is actually not bad at all. That's a pretty significant core there. Only problem, of course, is, yeah, we are running 3223 speed right there. Already kind of without like really a residence, without shoes, without a speed stone. You can't really keep up with that with an A-. That is a bit of the problem here. So yeah, we're kind of struggling at that. We don't have actually soul power right here. Maybe we put that on there as well. Vespera, actually pretty significant copy right there. Not bad at all. 7,500 soul power, 93 speed on the copy. Is quite the insane copy actually. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. So now for the Flame Shrine, how much speed do we have? Quick adjustment right there. Still way too slow. Okay. It was a try. Let's just go with it. Yeah, it's not that good. But let's just go with it for the moment. We could have attacked any hero right now, I guess. That's also an advantage. We didn't have to attack the IEA. It makes the most sense, though. We should add that. It makes the most sense to attack the IEA. Because the Vesperas will actually reduce the damage we deal to them. The IEA will not do that. I wonder how much damage we can really deal here. We see how quickly it goes. We have the DT activating now on her. And then that puts actually the tentacles on all of our heroes. And of course they have more than 50% of their max HP shield. So that is no question. Super big shields. And I wonder how those are also going to do against bosses. But this is something we're going to explore in a later video, I guess. Let's do some skips. We have got a 5E plus 17. Actually not too good, but for this boss we have to say we have to always do multiple attempts. So let's do a few quick skip battles and see. For my regular team, which was actually Vespera, and instead of Madeleine it was Wraec, I had my highest attempt at 4E plus 18 it was. And regular attempts were 1.5 to 1.8 E plus 18, I would say. So that is around the direction we are looking at. And I think we're kind of valuing in it a little bit lower, which makes sense. From our testing, it seems like those bosses here have very, very, very significant defenses. Yeah. And I think they are higher than what Madeleine can actually offset. So maybe they have like a 50% all damage reduction or something like that. So I would do probably like 2-3 more. But you moving Vespera and adding Wraec would indicate that this is indeed the case. 9.6 is not bad though. It's not bad. Let's do one more and see that. 9.3. It is not bad. Okay, same situation, but this time we used Wraec. So Madeleine is still in the fight. If our damage now increases, that means that that Madeleine is not enough to offset the defenses of the enemy, which is kind of a bad sign for her support ability. So this is 8.42. It's a good start. We don't know yet if it's a low roll or a high roll. That is, so we probably do like 5 attempts and then we see what is better, I reckon. So we have 8.2. Still around that. Okay. Interesting. Come on. 9.76. So I mean, average, it seems to be better. At least we didn't have like a low roll yet. And it's very, very consistent, which is not typical for this fight. 3.5. Seems to be the same. That's interesting. I mean, it could indicate that the performance difference is like between Wraec and Vespera is kind of like offsetting the damage reduction difference. That's fancy. So the performance in this situation for Wraec and Vespera is actually the same. That's kind of insane. That's kind of insane. Okay, we got a 1E plus 18. Probably still a bit better. Both not really good. I think this situation is like the point really is that the value you get from actually having Madeleine is in a big part from her all damage reduction. So if you see damage boosts in situations where you fought before and now with Madeleine you do a lot more damage, then oftentimes it is really because you are now able to punch through this all damage reduction or to punch through damage reduction. And this is kind of a very unique thing for Transcendence Hero to do. We had very much so little ways to deal with that in a good way. The only two ways to deal with defensive modifiers really. We had the very weird thing right here that we had all damage received that we could buff with Lord of Death Ezreal, and then obviously we had Luna, who also had like the structural breakdown, which was another option to do so, but Luna never really performed well. And now with Madeleine we have kind of a support hero that does that can provide like sustain that can provide like a very meaningful boost against enemies with high defenses, and at the same time sustain. So I think like if you have like a void boss with all damage reduction and damage reduction, something like that, and you struggle to survive against him, I mean, she kind of covers everything that you want. And then at the same time, you also have like this ability, which I thought was very, very fancy. Whenever she's healed, she grants 3 random allies a shield. So that is good, I guess. Can be triggered 3 times around, and when the limit is reached, so after it's basically triggered 3 times, there's a 60% chance to inflict stun on each of 3 enemies with the lowest HP. So then she has a stun chance. And I thought, okay, which hero can you combine this well? But because we kind of have to heal her 3 times in a round, which is not super difficult. There are certain ways that you can do that, especially if when you strategically position her in certain situations, like having lowest HP or something like that. Then, for example, another option that you can go for is something like this. When self is healed, grants a shield to an ally we have right here, and we have like multiple heals now in different situations. So even something like that, self HP heal we have right there. This is in theory a heal if she attacks. So there we have that, and then of course you have like different other abilities that can heal. Here we have the Restore Self makes HP, and then for all Queen's Guard they also get the HP restored, so Queen as a heal. And then the easiest way to trigger multiple heals within a round is actually an active Destiny rank 16 PDE. Because when self on a basic attacks or it takes damage from active skills, as long as you have transition power, grants self and one ally with the lowest HP mystical way to restore self and targets HP equal to 1200% of self attack. So then you just have to position there in the right way. So you really have like multiple ways to heal, or also a very easy one. You go for the Core of Zai, where you always have like the attacked allies HP that gets restored through the Immaculate Potion, so that is another way. It requires a bit of strategic building. Like the last teams that I have built, well, maybe the Star Alchemist Holmes Young build would have actually gone there, but that was a build that was meant to sacrifice the LDA and then also a carry. So running some hero that provides massive sustain on that wouldn't have really worked, but there it would have worked. And other teams it would have been a little bit more of a struggle, I guess. But nonetheless, very, very cool on that end. She also had, and I thought that was also quite interesting, she had some very interesting treasures. Of course, she was released with treasures. All new heroes apparently are now. So we have extra damage, quite a lot of it actually. The extra damage to 3 enemies, which is 10% of lost HP, maximum 1500% of attack, which is already at the maximum a 50% boost to her damage. So quite insane. Then we have another shield boost here and an energy increase. 60% chance to increase the energy by 10% just from this treasure. Basic attack also with extra damage and extra shield. And then we have this one, which seems kind of fancy now. At the end of each round restores HP by 1000% of attack for self. So she kind of has a heal for herself then. And then you can kind of add another heal through enables. And then we can, we also get the control immunity buff when the 3 heals are achieved. So this ability is this treasure is kind of specifically made to provide an additional control immunity buff for the allies for up to 12%. And to also provide a heal. That it also hits the allies. So this is kind of, even if you have this on 1 star, this is going to be quite a significant buff for her actually. Because then you only need like 2 other heals. And you can get like 1 through enables, and then you just need 1 other, so running SQH is already enough. So that's insane. And this is another thing, when allies with magic gluttony release basic attacks or active skills, grant self 1 layer of satiety, stackable up to 3 layers. And when a shield disappears for the first time, each round consumes 1 layer of it to grant them a shield equal to 15% of their max HP. So this will actually also provide them with more defensive layers there on top of it. Is this now like the big thing? Is this now like a hero that is really the game changer? I'm not too sure, guys. I'm not too sure yet. I don't hate her at all. I think she's very interesting. She's, how should I say it? She's in a way not really a revolutionary hero. What do I mean by that? She doesn't quite change the game mechanics in any way. I wouldn't say she's like a TBB that changed all of the rules of PvE. She is not really doing a whole lot of new stuff. In a way, when I started testing her, I felt like she's a little bit of an updated Vesa. And not to the extent that Vesa is right now, but like before the treasures. The treasures for Vesa kind of changed a whole lot of things, gave her a new role as debuff remover, which of course Madeleine isn't. She has no traits in that direction, so they are very different right now. But before Vesa got the treasures, where you thought like, okay, what would Vesa do if she was released today? And I think if Vesa was released today, she would be Madeleine. Because you kind of need all of those extra things, all of your extra triggering conditions now, all of that stuff. That is just things that you right now need to have be a good hero. And I think Madeleine works to that extent. And she provides meaningful survivability. And I wonder if she's going to make her way into Star Expedition, if that is going to be possible. I actually don't remember how many defenses the Star Expedition boss had. Was it none? If it is none, then it is actually less likely. But it would help with survivability for a lot of people. So that's a positive thing, I guess. For some people, the question was, will I use my SSS core on her? And no. She's good. And for a long time, I had like this streak where I got like all of the S heroes. I think we stopped with Ignatia. Would I want an S tier for her? Yes, actually I would. She's a very interesting support hero for PvP, for PvE too. I would love to run her in some of my teams. She doesn't necessarily change up the game, nor do I think she will necessarily change up the PvE meta. For bossing, maybe for some of the high defense bosses could be interesting. For something like Void Campaign, yes, you get more survivability. That is nice. But I feel like in many situations it's just more that, yeah, it's either you dodge or you die in Void Campaign. So having a hero like this, where you necessarily just get a lot of shields, I don't think that makes you survive necessarily like a Valk or something. I doubt it. We can go in there. Probably not with the Wukong. That's going to be not that great of an idea. How do we do that? Can we just try it? Let's just get the PD in there as well. Doesn't have to be a good attempt. I just wonder how it would look. I mean, you get the big hit. Oh, she didn't have any energy. Ah! That's bad. I want to try it with energy. Can we please get destroyed now? I want to try it again. Oh, she has the card. She had the Massa card. Oh, let's get her energy. Let's get her energy and try that. Upgraded Massa card here. Get her snow heart, some speed. Okay, that works out. Back into the game. Let's go. And we're going to move her to the back row and probably go like this. Yeah. Change up monster. Not for the CC one. Oh, that wouldn't work. So let's see. Yeah, we get the big shields, obviously, from the start. Did she just survive a hit? Okay. Huh? Okay, now we are an Unbending Will, but did she just survive a hit by the Valk? Okay. Ult didn't really change too much, but we got 3 lowest HP stun there. That was quite cool. So that is very, very convenient. Did you see that? The Holmes Youngs were the lowest HP, so they got all stunned. Just those 3. That is really convenient for some stages. I didn't really see that before. I mean, it didn't save us by no means. But the thing of just being able to stun exactly those 3 heroes consistently, I mean, until one of them dies really, but rather consistently we would be able to stun exactly those 3 heroes. Okay, now we don't have a shield anymore and we're on super low life. But she took 2 hits! Guys, she took 2 hits from the Valks. Oh, she has holy armor. Oh, that's the reason. She has holy armor. That's why she's surviving the Valk hits. Okay. Helps with survivability a bit though. And we have the very convenient stun. Maybe she's a nice asset actually for PvE. For the Void Campaign stuff. It's an interesting perspective. But yeah, this was just a preview. 30 minutes for it, of course. You know how it works. lastly, before I forget it, cheaper prices now on SG Hub. You can actually get your Starry Gems for super cheap. So I would recommend you get onto that. You check out the link in the description. There's a link to the SG Hub Discord server. You open a ticket there and you buy yourself some Starry Gems, because that is a wonderful idea, and you will save up to 75% compared to the in-game prices. And that is just from the starting value. You can save even more, can go down to 80%, maybe even 85%. I don't know. Depends how much you buy, really. Maybe you have deep pockets. I have no idea. But in any way, I would wish you guys a great day. Tell me your opinion about Madeleine down in the comments. Hit that subscribe button as well. That's an order, by the way. If you don't hit that subscribe button, you're going to get E-tier summons for all eternity. And until then, I wish you guys a great day. We'll see us in the next one.